Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian and Henno's with us.
Yay!
Hola.
Yay!
Shalom.
Yay!
Aloha.
All that fun stuff.
I was
It's
waiting.
so full of
Hi.
Yeah.
We're going for the NPR version of the show.
Hi.
Well, if we were doing
To the Crazy Life.
the NPR thing, wouldn't we have to ask for money for like 10 minutes first, and then
Yes,
do?
first for sure.
Yeah.
Please do. If you really enjoy the show, just open up your pocketbook and give us a $5, please.
We have a handsome tote bag. We won't send it to you, but we have one.
The Crazy Life doesn't just happen by itself. It is brought to you with the support of listeners like you.
I always like that because it's like, not like me. I don't throw any money at you. And I fast forward through all your ads, so I'm not using any of your codes or anything. So it's tough.
Oh, there's a comedian that does a really great Catherine well, I can picture her. But she has this really great sketch on being in a hotel room and turning on the TV and late night TV, and they start playing John Denver, And then they interrupt John Denver, like, "Are you enjoying that song?" And she's like, "Yes, yes, I am." I'm like, "Do you want to hear more of that song?" "Well, yes, I do." All you have to do is give us some money. But I just want to hear the song.
Yeah.
It's like, yep,
Yeah.
we've all been there. We've all been suckered in on that.
Yep. We hope you're enjoying the John Denver marathon tonight. And we'll get back to that in just a moment. But first, we want to tell you about 20 minutes later. Yeah, I know. I mean, I understand. I don't.
Casting Madigan. Sorry. Just hit me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't blame them. I mean, obviously, you got to get an operations budget somewhere. So, and there's a reason it's called, public radio. So,
This is true.
public broadcasting. The government, throws money at it, but it's generally not enough, especially because it's been cut. Their funding's been cut various times. So, it's not like the heyday back on Family Ties when the dad, could get a lot of stuff greenlit on PBS somehow.
This is true. He was very successful at that.
I cannot remember what their last name was on the show. Keaton. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was trying to remember because I'm like, all I got to do is remember Michael J. Fox's name on the show, and I'll remember. I was like, oh, yeah, it's Alex P. Keaton. Yep, Alex P. Keaton. Yep.
Always with the P.
But luckily for you, listener, we don't do that.
Exactly.
But if you'd like to help us out, we'd love it if you'd head over. No.
No, we are here for your mental health, not your pocketbook. I promise.
Well, slow down. I mean, no reason I can't be here for both.
All right, guys. Who wants to go first? Well, what am I talking about? I know you weren't with us last week, so would you like to start us off?
No. Yeah, I had things going on.
Really
going
quick.
Down.
The way that the shows are the ways that I've dropped them, because I actually dropped the one last week that me and Jen recorded last week. So
really? So you blew off the one from 2 weeks ago.
So if you're listening and you're like, wait, Henno was on the last one, you're correct.
No, if you dropped the 4th of July one, Henna wasn't on the 4th of July one.
Wow.
Yeah, because we talked about the 4th of July, so we went in and dropped that one, and then, yeah. So the other one's going to go up. This is going to be so confusing to anyone listening, but that one's going up tonight, and then the one we're recording now will go up next week.
We're going to be completely out of whack.
No, we'll be fine after this.
So I went to lovely Carson City, Nevada for the 4th of July weekend.
Awesome.
Which was a bit of a trek, but it all worked out perfect because I had a gig on Saturday night. So as soon as I got done with the gig, I hit the road. Luckily we played like a really cool like semi-acoustic show, so I did have a lot of gear with me.
Oh, right.
So I grabbed the van and Sharon and I had set it up with the bed in the back, and I took off and I drove for a few hours, and then I pulled over, caught an hour of sleep, and then hit the road some more and drove for a couple hours, and then pulled over, had a couple more hours of sleep, and then I was like going, all right, so now how far away am I? Because I literally hadn't checked. I didn't have much of a plan. I just knew that if I was going to be sleeping in the car, it'd be better to do it at night than in the middle of the desert in the heat. So I eventually was like, okay, if I could sleep in more and show up in time for the thing. And then I found out that I realized that I was like, wait a minute, Brendan sent me a hotel room, a room number. That means he's there. Awesome. That means I can just drive straight there. He's got a room. We don't have to wait, And so I was like at 4:30 in the morning, and I took off and I made it there by 8:00. And the last time I saw Brendan was Thanksgiving for one evening when we were driving back from California. So we had a great catch up. It was really nice, and it was good for him because he's taking care of his dad right now who has short-term memory loss. And to tie into something that it just blows me away is with all the things that he So Brendan is there to, get, because bills weren't getting paid, getting lost driving, all these parts of short-term memory loss.
Sure.
That's why he's there, and make it to doctor's appointments and blah blah blah, and then other health issues. And one of the things that caught Brendan by surprise is he didn't realize how much his father was drinking. And what's really wild is these ways that Brendan has taken things off the table for his dad, like, for example, various bills and whatever. His dad doesn't even, as far as dad's concerned, there are no bills.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The short-term memory loss is just gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm.
And the short-term memory loss is such a thing that he doesn't remember how bad his memory loss is.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Because whatever event happened that would be demonstrable of the memory loss is already forgotten. And it's kind of like that 28 first dates, you kind of have to start over. And they're actually going to start doing something like that. He has a calendar on the wall, and he's actually going to start putting up on the wall the various doctor's orders and stuff, because it's okay. Why can't I drive? Well, because, this, and this. And it's like you have to go through it every day. The crazy thing is the desire to drink and the motivation to drink is still there.
Wow.
It is unbelievable that alcoholism doesn't get forgotten. The addiction is not forgotten.
That's wild.
He will remember they went out to dinner one night and they had a leftover of a bottle of wine, and like 3 days later, Seth's like, "Hey, do we still have the rest of that bottle of wine from dinner?" And Brendan was like,
Wow.
"Yeah,
That's crazy.
And-
like, can't remember where he's going right now, but can remember a bottle of wine from 3 nights ago.
yeah."
Wow.
It's and the also just this idea of like, well, why can't I need to drive? Well, why do you need to drive? Well, he needs to drive. He wants to drive so he can go to the store and buy booze.
Right.
He won't say it, but because he says, "Oh, to go get groceries." No, I'm taking care of groceries. I got that. To my doctor's appointments. Well, no, your girlfriend's taking care of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But deep down inside, it's to go pick up some booze because that's what he would do. And it really just drove home. Like, how the heck did I get sober?
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
if it's at that level, it's like in your brain, it's like at a fundamental, like, animal level, like, right in the, your reptilian mind, kind of like it's never forgotten. Like it's an instinct almost, which just blows me away.
Wow.
Yeah, how powerful that is.
Yeah.
So it was
Jeez.
a great visit because Brendan definitely needed to get away for a couple of days, and we will just talk about anything. And then the reason I went all the way there was because the owner of the company that I used to work for in California, Eugene Berger, he passed away this year at the age of 87, 88. He had COVID, but it wasn't from COVID. What happened is he recovered from the COVID, but then he got pneumonia, and then what happens with a lot of older people, pneumonia just takes them down. And so they finally did a celebration of life. And the reason it was in Carson City was because when Gene retired, he found this bowling alley, and that had like this, couple businesses around it, and he was going to make it his little retirement project, something to do in retirement. So they always wanted to. The whole family moved to Nevada, and like I said, he was running this thing, and I'd never seen the place. I'd heard all about it, and so I finally went there. And when we pulled up, I was expecting to see like the front of a bowling alley, but it wasn't. It just looked like this nondescript kind of building that said something Fun Center, Carson City Lanes Fun Center, and it just looked like a little small mall. Well, you walk in, and it was awesome. It was like a Johnny Rockets restaurant. There was a lounge, like a bar where they had pool tables. They had a couple of video game rooms. They had an ice cream, place. They had a coffee shop. And then they had this huge bowling alley in there.
Oh, wow.
And they were all owned. They're all one business.
Oh,
so they
okay.
weren't individual businesses. And it was all owned by Eugene Berger Management. So they were all EBMC employees. Which I thought was just so cool. And
That
so
is cool,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, this would totally be an awesome retirement project because you have all these different business entities. They all have orders they need to do. You have different types of food. You have different, booze. You have liquor license. And then you have staffing for all of them. And I'm like, I could totally see how this kept Gene busy because he was that kind of a guy he liked to do. And it was so great to finally see it. And then I got to see so many people I haven't seen in at least 10 years. I've kept in touch with a lot of them via social media, but some people I have not seen at all. And, they were just so happy to see me and so excited that I made it out. And it was even better when I said that at a gig the night before. I still had my fingernail polish on.
Nice.
Yeah. So, caught up with some friends, played, bowled for a little while. And then we actually, Brendan and I went back to we're in Nevada. I was like, let's go let's go find a blackjack table somewhere, which wasn't as easy as we thought it would be because like it ain't Reno.
Yeah.
But we did. And we just, we had a real fun night and sat in this cafe and had I was like, we wanted to go to a steakhouse and they were just totally booked up. So I was like, finally it got to a point where we're like, I'm done. Let's go get some food. We sit down and they have just a New York steak. I figure, it's going to be some just totally hard piece of meat or whatever it was. And it was huge and it was delicious. Because I tell you the truth, what happened is when I looked at the chef, I saw the chef. I'm like, oh, that guy knows what to do with a piece of meat. Like this is going to be good, right?
Yeah.
It was enormous. And we had the full deal, salad, potato choice, steamed vegetables and all this stuff. And the whole bill was $35. I was like, what the,
oh, wow.
This is amazing. Right. It was great.
Yeah.
It was fun. So we stayed up kind of late and then I got up the next morning and all the way home. And it was great. I haven't had a regular long weekend with everyone else. Usually if the holiday's on Monday, which it was for us, I usually take Thursday off and it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then I'm there Sunday and Monday covering. And Omar was nice enough to cover for me. And it was great. I really appreciate it. I had a nice 4-day weekend, came back to work and it's just, God, we're still so busy. I'm just so tired every day I get home. We're just getting our butts kicked, but it's good. There's nothing wrong. And what was even crazier was the night before there was this one last thing that needed to be done for the health club was this fancy schmancy swimming suit spinner thingy. And so I was supposed to go in on Friday night at night. I get called into work beforehand, go up to work, help out up there, come back home in enough time to just basically eat, change, back up there at 8:30, and I was there ended up being there till 1 a.m. I was like, oh, it's like, oh, it was brutal, but I got it done. I had a couple of pretty good snags, and I'm just like, nope, there are no snags. This thing is going to operate this weekend, and it did. So it's been good. And I found out today that we're so behind on background checks in the state. And so they won't have the background check done for the new employee, but they've at least released him to come work for us for a little bit. So we need somebody. Wow. Yeah. And then the other thing that was really for me, the win for the week was I've continued to be a team player in this whole thing, no matter what. Yeah, I've had a couple of times where I need to gripe about something, but as long as I've just been a team player, everything's working out so far. And today, one of the things I saw last week was the property manager was struggling with a maintenance report. And I'm just like, why are you doing the maintenance report? It's literally what I do. I mean, it's every day, we have a couple of sales going through, and they have a long list of all these things they want to have verified. So I'm doing these detailed reports on all the maintenance that we do on the property. And I'm just like, I know how to write about my topic, and I've done maintenance reports for boards forever and ever. And today, Kathy came in and said, the board president, they would like you to do these maintenance reports in the future for the board. I'm like, awesome. That's great. Happy to. She's like, you are? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to see you struggle with this. This is not your thing. Yeah. This is not your language. It's my language.
Right.
You're the accounting language, money and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I can do the building language. So that felt really good to just, as long as it just makes me confident everything's going to work out. And one of the things that happened that happened today actually was like I said, we're all working our butts off, and I'm just like, all right, everyone come in here, vacations, time off, PTO, what are you taking? Well, I'm like, what was your plan, Antonio? What are you doing? Like you said you were going to take 2 weeks off. Do you still want those 2 weeks off? He's like, well, yeah, I do. I'm like, all right, well, let's put it on the board, and I just said, but we're so busy. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, though. It's like if you all put out there what you're wanting to do, then you can potentially negotiate or go, hey, there's a lot of these things that don't overlap. So, hey, I can help you here if you can help me. It gives you the opportunity to navigate that a little bit. Whereas if you wait longer, and then he's kind of...
It just gets worse.
Yeah, it gets worse because you don't have time to look at anything or figure an option out or something.
Anything, yeah. So he said, and I said, well, what about you, Omar? He's like, well, I'd like to do something with my kids before they go back to school too. So how about if I'm like, well, you get the 2 weeks then afterwards? And I was kind of laughing because Antonio said that his wife was going to go to Mexico for a month, and I'm like, oh, I see. You're going to take the vacation while she's in Mexico, so you can be at home by yourself. he's like, no. I'm going to go meet her. I'm like, yeah, on the second week, aren't you?
Yeah.
And he started laughing, and then Omar's like, well, I want to take the week after that. And I'm like, when does school start? Oh, I see how this is going. You get 1 week with your kids on vacation, and then the next week they're in school, so you get to be by yourself for a week.
Right.
I see how you family guys are.
Yep. That's smart.
I was. We were having a good laugh at it because when you have kids, it's like you want to be with your kids, but then you also want your time alone.
Right.
So it was great. So I walked in and I said, Kathy, this is the time off that's being taken. I was like drawing big lines across her calendar. I'm like, I'll do it in pencil because they're not 100% confirmed yet. And she just had this look on her face like, I'm like, yep. And then Omar right here. I'm like, and then what? You, Sean, right? Yep. And then you, Kathy, what? You're pretty much taking all of September off? Great. This is awesome. And, she looked at me, she's like, what about you? I'm like, I already went to Jamaica. I have a few days left, but it was just like, no, we're doing this. There's no more, nobody feels guilty. Nobody feels, and it just felt like it was such a win for us to be able to, because I'm like, come on, Antonio, I know you've been talking about this vacation for months now, but you've still got the old mindset of it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's the value thing.
Yep.
He does not think he has the value. I'm like, these are your benefits.
Yep.
Use them. And the fact of the matter is we're only allowed to roll over a week of PTO.
So you definitely want to use the other. Yeah.
You got to use it.
Sure.
Yeah. And we don't want to do like what you talked about, where all of a sudden everyone in November is like, I got to burn, 50 hours. And it's like, really?
Yeah. Or they pick a very inopportune time to where it's harder to,
like when
work
it's
it out
snowing.
Yeah. So it's like, hey,
we need everyone.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we're getting, everything will get done, everything will get taken care of. And by the end of the, it's like eventually, Frank will pop on and it'll be perfect timing because he's going to start putting in a couple days a week. Right when those guys are gone, I'm like, great, awesome, we're gonna make it work. So yeah. It's been good.
Cool.
I'm still really happy that I'm, for the most part, still keeping my positive attitude about it. And even the board president came in last week to do another check-in with me. I'm like, no, really, it's good. Everything's good. She's like, you'll tell me if there's anything wrong. I'm like, absolutely, I'll tell you if there's anything wrong. I just happen to be about to go spend 4 days with my former coworkers, but that's beside the point.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's awesome though that like you doing that with like kind of getting everyone to look at that. Tony and I were talking about that a little bit last night when we recorded Salty Language about valuing your time and yourself and all that, and how when we were younger we absolutely didn't do that. We they need this, so, well, I guess I got to put my vacation on hold, or I guess I can't this or that, or, like me, I was in a car accident where I could barely walk, and I had to go into work because the assistant manager was on vacation and so was the store manager. So I was the only manager available. Now I'd be like, you got to figure something else out. I can't come in, you know, but then I was like, well, yeah, I'm sure I can figure it out, you know, like an idiot. But it's cool that you're doing that because like you said, it's like, hey, we get a say now, you know,
Yeah,
like
that's
we
it.
get to write this how it works for us. So why not do that? Because seriously, even though it's the plan going forward, you never know when that changes. But if you already kind of have this system in place, someone else coming in may not mess with it going forward. You know, whereas again, if you wait long enough, someone else, you know, if something happens, somebody else comes in and now you're back to the old system or something that might be even worse, you know, and now you can't get your time. And like you said, then in November, you're like, hey, and you're like, hey, we can't because we can't have everybody off at the same time. So it just makes so much more sense. It's so nice when you get people. I did that when I was running one of the stores that I ran, which was I was like, I need, you know, don't wait, you know, I need your request off by a certain date, basically, for long vacations, you know, like for the next month. I need it, you know, you got to get it to me by the middle of the month, or I can't guarantee it's going to happen. Because you got to give me time that if we can't staff it, I can find other people to fill your shifts, or, you know, you got to give me some time. If it's one day, we'll figure it out, no problem. But if it's like a week or 2 weeks, I got to, you know, I got some hoops I got to jump through for labor reasons and whatnot. So, you know, once we started doing that, we ran into like very little problem with it because, like you were saying, it's like when you see, hey, we got a bunch of people who want time off. As long as you're not overlapping, we can make this work, you know.
And for us, it was, to me, it's more that idea of like we're empowering ourselves.
Yeah, totally.
And it was time to you know, so much of this, one thing to talk about, it's another thing to finally put, you know, put the rubber to the road and say, okay, we're empowering ourselves.
Yeah, mom and dad are going, it's ice cream for breakfast time, you know.
It's like, step up, take it, do it. So I was really happy to see everyone, you know, on board with that. And there was no grumbling, no nothing. And it's like, it's going to be okay.
Right.
This is why we're doing this.
Well, and also it does definitely help, like you mentioned before, with you guys having worked together as long as most of you have, you navigate around each other well. You know, so you know, hey, if this isn't whatever, we can do this. And, you know, that definitely helps. And unfortunately, a lot of people in workplaces don't have that same, you know, especially if you're working like food or retail where the turnover is insane. You know, you barely know the people you're working with half the time. But it's cool that you guys all, you know, kind of work together to get that. So everybody gets what they want in the end. And that's awesome. That's so great. And why not have it that way if you can, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. I'll go next because I was to say I don't really have much since we recorded last.
It's only been a couple days.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Me and Jen recorded, what was it, Saturday, and it's Wednesday now, so not much has happened for me since then. But yeah, with me, it's just been the last few days. I've just been fighting headaches because of the stupid weather, and especially today, we had a pretty strong storm blow through here. At least one. We had a few, like a whole system kind of go through, but I know there was at least one really strong storm that came through, and because I went to pick up my medicine and no more got out of there, and it was barely raining, and then it just poured. And
that bad for sure.
Yeah, thunder, lightning, the whole thing, windy as heck, you know. So it was, you know, whatever. We were fortunate that it wasn't, you know, horrible. I mean, like, you know, over by not too far from where Tony lives, he posted a picture, I think, or another one of our friends posted a similar one. Someone near them, like, it like took a tree down. Like the whole tree down, and you could see like the sod or the grass is just like, like if you just lifted a rug, like wrinkled a rug, that's what it looks like at the base of the tree. Like
it's a really cool looking picture. It's just one of those things that you feel bad for the, you know, the homeowners, but it's a cool looking picture.
Yeah. So, fortunately nothing that bad here, but it was, it did hit, knocked out a lot of power in Toledo and stuff like that. So again, we were fortunate up here. We didn't really have a whole bunch other than just, strong rain for a little while. But yeah, that was fun.
Right.
No. I don't know. I was trying to think. There was something I was going to bring up, and I don't remember what it is now. I don't know. Yeah, I really, like I said, I haven't done a whole lot because it hasn't been very long. But also, it's been hot, and when it's been hot, I don't really go out and do much, So, yeah, I have to go up for a testosterone injection tomorrow, and get to go to my doctor Friday, which is such a waste. I was in there, was it a week or so ago, and I thought I could get blood drawn while I was there. I fasted and everything. I get in there. They didn't have an order for it. My doctor wasn't there that day, so they couldn't ask him if he was going to want one to where he could go ahead and just allow it and they could do it. So I was like, okay. And they're like, oh, and I have an appointment Friday this week with him. But now instead of being able to walk in where he has the results in his hand and we can talk about them, I'm going to go in and basically see him for nothing. He's going to send the referral, and then I'll get the blood drawn, and then either I'll have to go back in or they'll call me on the phone and discuss what's going on. It's just such a waste. And he hates it, by the way. Every time, he must have forgot to send the order, because usually when he's like, come back in 3 months, he'll send the order then. That way, when I come back, what I do is I schedule about a week ahead. I go get the blood drawn. Then when I go in to see him, we have everything there. We can talk. Because he's a doctor that likes to have the results in his hand and talk to you about them. And it makes him angry because he knows it's wasting time and money the other way. He's not a fan. So I'm sure when I tell him what happened, he's probably going to be like about it. Because he was last time. Whenever it happens, he's, I never thought I should have, I could have maybe called back up there, the next day or something, and, I just didn't think about it, but anyway. So, yeah, that's basically about it for me. I've done a couple of things around the house, but not a whole lot. I haven't felt like cooking because it's been too hot, and I just don't want to heat the house up, Tony brought me over some pulled pork, so I've been eating off of that, which is nice, because then you don't have to go out and buy food either. So, that's been it, though. That's really it. I don't even know, like a win for the week. I don't even know full on what I'd even say, because feel like I've done so little that I don't know what the win would be.
Sometimes that's what the win is.
Yeah, maybe that's just it. Yeah.
It's a self-care,
Yeah. Just, it hasn't been bad, so, there's my win, I guess. It hasn't been bad.
There you go.
So there you go.
Well, so the 4th was fairly uneventful, other than I was dog sitting, and Maya didn't care for the fireworks, so my dogs were a little barky. But other than that, which is understandable and forgivable and stuff. Yeah. But Hubs took me out to dinner, and something that was kind of, it's irritating, but also really, really freaking cool, is there were hardly any restaurants open.
Yeah, on the 4th. I noticed that too. We went out to eat on the 4th too, and there was nothing open.
And it's one of those things that it's irritating because I want someone to serve me dinner.
Yeah.
But if I can step outside myself for a moment in what my needs and wants are and think of everyone else as a whole, I also think it's really amazingly cool that we're going back to those days where on holidays, restaurants are closed.
I don't know if, I think this was more of a labor situation, because I know of at least 3 restaurants that were closed because they didn't have enough staff.
Oh.
Including
I was having some high hopes.
Yeah. I think that's most of it this year, but I don't know. Might not be. What surprised me is when I saw some chains that were closed.
Yeah, everybody was closed, but
Yeah.
I mean, I could not get. I finally found there's a place called the Docks, and I found a restaurant at the Docks that was open. So we ended up going there and sitting by the river and having Mexican.
Mm.
So
Nice.
it felt a little odd having a Mexican meal on the 4th of July Independence Day.
Why?
I don't know. Guess it, it's American Mexicans. It's not like it's.
Right.
We won't go there. We
Yeah.
won't go down that road.
All right.
All right. So that was the 4th. The 5th, I had the day off from work. So, it was good. It was odd because I ended up having quite a lot of free time this weekend. And I've been very busy lately. And I've noticed that free time is not necessarily a good thing for me.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for me actually to be busy.
Or at least,
And
the way I told my therapist about that one time is I said it's not the free time, it's the like free thinking during the free time.
Yes.
So what I
Yes.
need isn't necessarily to be busy, but I need to be distracted.
Exactly.
Like I can just be lounging, but I got to have something occupying my mind. Otherwise, intrusive thoughts sometimes pop in or, just annoying thoughts, whatever.
Exactly. So, watched a little Harry Potter marathon, had my coffee, kind of kicked back, just relaxed. It was nice. It was a good weekend. And then something interesting happened at work. The last couple of days. And then I want to mention to everybody because it's really quite the lesson learned. There's a person who, personally, we do not get along. Personality-wise, it's just not a good match. It happens in life, You meet people, and it doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
So, basically, the sight of her irritates the bejeebers out of me. And that is very unfair. And when I stop and put some perspective on the issue, take a step back and say, okay, facts are, and you stop and you look at the facts and you're like, okay. Like, just because you don't like someone doesn't mean that they deserve, you to be irritable and cranky with them and not treat them appropriate, very professionally, just because you don't like them. And it's really tough to do that. But I'm working on it, and I'm trying. And my boss, my manager knows she's not a big fan of this person either. And I told her that. I told her this aha that I came across. And I'm like, yeah, I realized the fact that I don't like her. And I'm not really necessarily being fair because I don't like her. And she's like, gotcha. I'm like, I need to be more understanding, more accepting, and more patient. Because truly, she hasn't really done much technically wrong. I believe she has other motives, but the facts are, I can't read her mind. I don't know what her motivations are. Whether they're good or bad or ugly, I can't say. It's not my place because I don't know. All I can do is take a look at the facts, and the facts are, at this time, she has not done anything, egregiously wrong. So I'm like, all right. And, it was just kind of one of those things that I wanted to talk about a little bit on the show, because I think we've all kind of been in those shoes before, where it's so easy when you don't like someone and you're just like, oh, they just irritate me, or, oh, they just said that, or, oh, I know they have an ulterior motive, or they're out to get me, about the whole thing. And I was fortunate enough this time to kind of catch myself going down that path and hopefully turn the corner. Where in the past I have not been so fortunate. In the past, I've kind of let that cloud my judgment and color situations, where quite frankly, it did not make me look very good. So now hopefully I've caught it in enough time that I can prevent that from happening. So, and so it doesn't hurt me. Because those things always do. They truly do. If you go down those paths, they always bite you in the butt. They never bite the other person. It's always you that get bitten. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess that's about all I've got really going on. Yeah, I think, Heno, you have the topic.
I do. We are going to talk about imposter syndrome. And this came up because there's a guy's name is John Bollinger. He's a guitar player from Nashville. He's played in a bunch of different bands, and he does a lot of he's in a magazine called Premier Guitar, and he does like gear reviews and, you know, what are bands playing, and he also just has this article where he just kind of talks about like the human part about being a musician. And he's usually he's got a great perspective, and this was in this last month's magazine, and I was like, oh, this looks really cool, and it's more of a like kind of an introduction to kind of what imposter syndrome is, and then it's definitely, if you want, you can take a deep dive on it and get into the particulars on it, but it's a quick little article I'm going to read. And he goes on, he says, every time I play guitar in public, my internal critic is performing a coup on my self-esteem. Every time I play music in front of people, the sound of what I play will at some point be drowned out by the imaginary criticism of everyone within earshot. I'll be having a great time making music. Then I hit a note I don't like, and it all changes. From then on, all I hear is the collective thoughts of the other musicians, the audience, the engineers, their unified minds joined together in unanimous silent chant, "You suck. You don't belong here." You've seen this guy play. He's amazing. So they're all united in their disdain towards me, and rightfully so. Okay, I know. Okay, I know most people aren't paying attention really at the bar, but if they are, they don't care. Those with a positive bias and a kind heart will think I sound fine, maybe even good. The more troll-like with their negative default mode will find something wrong with anything, regardless of what it sounds like. I know my dark thoughts are not entirely true. I also know these thoughts will undermine my work and general well-being happiness. Yet I embrace this self-doubt like it is the ultimate truth. So he says, be it playing music, talking to strangers, or trying to write this column. He says, stupid column. I suspect that I'm not as competent or intelligent as others might think, and I fear that soon everyone will discover the truth. I'm not particularly bright. I faked my way in. Everything I've accomplished is pretty much a fluke. I don't know what I'm doing, and I shouldn't be here. Ladies and gentlemen, meet imposter syndrome, a wellspring of self-doubt and woe. To be clear, imposter syndrome is not recognized by the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, probably because it's not a disorder. It's just part of being human. Everyone at times feels like they are unqualified and therefore are faking it. In fact, the only way you learn anything is to do it without really knowing how. You've never driven a car until you've actually driven a car. Every president of the United States began his term in office by faking it. As terrifying as this sounds, surgeons are not entirely sure what they're doing the first time they cut into a person. We all struggle with this. That's why fake it till you make it is a popular and effective self-help slogan. When you're agonizing over small mistakes, attributing your success to external factors, or berating your competence and skills, you are basking in the imposter syndrome. Every musician I know is a frequent traveler to this land of self-loathing and private shame. Anyhow, then he goes on to talk more about like why drugs and alcohol are very popular backstage, and you know where we get from alcohol and that stuff, which I don't need to go into. But it really resonated with me because I know we've all experienced this before, and it takes a long time before we get that. I still have imposter syndrome in some ways. Like when I'm at work and I'm doing something I've never done before.
Yeah.
Like, as a matter of fact, this last Friday night was an example of that. I was walking into a situation completely blind I didn't know all the variables. I couldn't factor it in because it's in a women's locker room. I can't just go walk in there anytime I want to and just take some measurements.
I mean,
So
you could, but you also might get arrested.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
There might be some little,
Yeah.
disgruntlement there.
Right.
But
by the way, you saying I can't just walk into a women's locker room and take some measurements made it sound way skeevier than what you were talking about. Because you're talking about measurements for the swimsuit rack you were installing or whatever, right?
Maybe. Because we are talking about you just said swimsuit rack.
Yeah.
I'm taking some measurements on.
Yeah.
But yeah. But like the whole idea of it, like I was nervous about, do I have everything I need? Because I can't possibly know what I need because I haven't actually done this before. I don't know the circumstances, but I have enough confidence in my abilities that I'll work it out. But I still have it to a little bit, but I don't necessarily have there are some things that I won't even say yes to anymore because I've just learned that I would have the worst imposter syndrome. Like, what am I thinking? And then that would be me being a people pleaser, pretty much. As a musician, I really just don't care anymore.
That's fair. Yeah.
But honestly, my journey through recovery has helped me get past imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And mainly because I've learned about myself. I've learned what I'm capable of. I've learned what I'm comfortable with, and I've learned that it's okay to say no. And I don't have to please everybody. I don't have to say yes. My own personal imposter syndrome was way worse when I was saying yes to everything because I wanted people to like me. I didn't want to say no. I wanted to be the good guy. I wanted people to like me, that kind of thing. And a lot of that comes from that's what led to alcoholism. And as I totally get the idea of having some drinks to build up the old confidence and that kind of stuff. But this is imposter syndrome. I think everybody knows it. I know there are people out there that have never felt it. Awesome for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't live in that world. I mean, I've had imposter syndrome going on a date.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, with family functions, people who've known me my entire life. And I will still have imposter syndrome where I'll be standing there and I don't even feel like I'm in my own body. I'm like, who is this person? What do I say? What do I do? What do I do with my hands? I've been having a serious problem with what to do with my hands lately. And when I'm standing there and complete fish out of water, and like I said, these are people who've known me forever. But yet, I still don't feel I fit at times.
Yeah. I think it's real common, especially like in the workplace. Like anytime you get, like if you're going into a new team, a new job, whatever, because you're going in, even if you're doing the same exact job as everybody else there, the way we look at it is they're established. And we, it's like they belong here because they're already here, but they all at some point were the new person. But our brain doesn't start there. Our brain will start with like, well, this is me and this is how I feel, so I'm like Jen just said, I'm the fish out of water here. I don't know if I belong here, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah,
it's actually worse than that because you believe that everybody else knows that. Right. So it's on that, like, because John ends the article like with the idea of like, all right, so get comfortable being uncomfortable, quit thinking, just play. We mostly think about ourselves. If we only knew how little people think about us, would we be relieved or hurt? Honestly, it's very freeing when you realize that nobody's really thinking about you, and that's the real key to this. Like when Frank comes on, I think I might actually tell him, just so you know, when you leave work today, I'm not thinking about you.
Yeah.
New guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm just totally honest. I will not think about you. So whatever insecurities you might feel about being the new guy, don't worry about it. Nobody's thinking about you.
Right. Yeah.
We're all thinking about ourselves, and it's the truth. It's almost like almost a gift to tell someone like, I hope this doesn't hurt your feelings, but I really don't think about you.
That is a great line though. Like if we really knew, like would we be hurt or
would we be hurt or or relieved.
Yeah.
Because this is the part where I love the term I'm an egomaniac with an inferiority complex.
Yeah, right.
Because the only way that I can take this to the most extreme, the imposter syndrome to the most extreme, it's more than just that I doubt my own self-worth. It's that I'm convinced that you know that I'm a faker.
Right. Well, do you know
think of the ego involved with that.
Right. Well, and it's amazing to me too, using like just talking about music, because of how many like guitarists, musicians, singers, all of it are self-taught, or maybe they aren't the best, but they're part of like hugely successful bands, you know, that have sold hundreds of millions of records or millions of records, whatever, and sell out, you know, buildings and all this kind of stuff. And you're standing there and it's like, dude, you don't have to be the best. That's the best part. It's like, all you have to do is be you, because look what's happening. You're doing them. Like, nobody ever would look at Kiss and go, they are the greatest musical act ever. They might be the greatest stage act in rock and roll or one of the best, but they're not the most musically sound group ever. But look how many arenas they've sold out. Look how many tours they've sold. Look how many albums they've sold. You know, it's just like, it doesn't ultimately, like, it sucks that we can't get out of our own head even to realize, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, you have to be some level of good, you know, but punk music's another great example. Punk music, there's so many bands and, you know, guys that are people that don't sing the best or on key, or the, you know, the music's not necessarily very, you know, broad or diverse, but it's exactly what people want from you, you know? Yeah. And that's really all you should focus on. But again, that's where the stinky part of imposter syndrome is it doesn't, your brain won't let you celebrate that win. That, you know, like this guy, like you were saying, it's like, you know, he's played all over the place. He's done all this stuff. And yet he still has his moments where, you know, he's still like, oh man, I don't belong here, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, even if you were in the room with the greatest musicians, whatever, ever, you know, it's like, dude, you still got in the door, so you belong there, you know? Like, you know?
Well, that's I think the one key part about it is like when you talk about someone like Kiss is just laughing happy to the bank and saying, scoreboard, right?
Yep.
And I think that's kind of how we need to look at some of these things is look where you are, you know, you're getting paid, people have faith in your abilities, and scoreboard.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yep. That's why I use them as an example, because I think that
it's a great example.
They're a really good example of it, to where if they got caught up in, oh, we're not the most, you know, like, we don't belong here or whatever. It's like you listen to him talk about, especially, you know, Gene Simmons, you listen to him talk, he's just like, basically like, yeah, who cares? You know, like, it's, you know, he's very much the, like you said, if you brought this up to him, he'd probably be like, yeah, and we laughed all the way to the bank on it.
That's
you know,
it.
We don't. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, it's, you know, and I know I felt it in jobs. I felt it in art school, you know, especially. Like, it's real hard not to, whenever there's something where literally you are not directly competing with somebody, but when you turn your assignments in, everyone's like, here, look at mine, you know? It's not like, you know, when you're in school and you take tests and they just hand the test back out, the teacher doesn't go, Brian got an A, Henno got an A, Jen got, you know. So, you know, they don't go down this list. Oh, Billy got a D, boo. You know, like, you don't, unless you look, you don't know what anybody else got, you know. But when you're in art school, you may not know the grade, but you can look at, and, you know what the assignment is. So a lot of times you can go, ooh, you know, like, or wow. And it's hard not to, especially if you're in a class with a lot of people that you're like, oh man, these people are good. And then you're like, I don't, what am I doing? You know, like, why am I going after this? And again, you look at, you know, in art, how many things that are not photorealistic drawings or whatever, things that are abstract, have become or have been some of the most popular or famous things, or, you know, A Starry Night by Van Gogh. If you look at that, it's like, yeah, the sky didn't actually look like that. Maybe to him it did, you know, but if you just took a picture of the sky that night, there's no way it looked the way he painted it, you know. But that's what makes it awesome. And, you know, a lot of, you know, famous works of arts and stuff like that is they may not be structurally or technically perfect, but there's something about them, much like Kiss's music or their show or punk music or whatever, like I said, that it grabs people. And that's really what you should focus on more is, hey, people value you, not I'm not the best, or I'm not as good as, actually. Let me go there, not the best, because it's not always about being the best. You just don't, like you said, you feel like you don't fit in, and everyone else knows you don't belong there.
Yeah.
You know, now if
Yeah,
I got up
everyone's in
and
on it,
played
yeah.
with a band, I could understand that everyone would be booing me, and they'd be right to do so because I'd be terrible. And in that case, I don't belong up there. And fake it till you make it's not quite going to work right then, because I have no clue what I'm doing on stage. But like you said, at some point, you had no clue what you were doing, no matter what it is as a human, no matter what it is, basically. We had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know how to walk. We didn't know how to talk. We didn't know to use a toilet. You know, all these things you're taught over the years. And, you know, it's not that you don't belong in a group with people who know that stuff if you don't know it. It just means you haven't learned it yet. Like he said in the article, you know, you didn't know how to drive till someone taught you to drive. You know, you didn't know how to play guitar until you either took lessons or, you know, taught yourself, whatever it is. So, yeah, that's good stuff. I do like seeing it, though. Like, it's kind of like whenever you hear about a celebrity of some sort talk about getting butterflies before they go do something they've been doing 20 years. You know, I heard wrestlers on podcasts talk about, like, before they go out before the crowds, you know, how they still get butterflies. And it's like, that's awesome because, you know, that shows you care, but it also, you know, shows that it's something you're invested in. You're actively there. It's not just like, okay, I guess I'm going to go do this again. You know, like, who cares, you know? So it's always nice to hear people who are successful have the same struggles as the people who want to be successful or whatever, you know, because you can go, oh, that's always going to be there. You just got to find your way to, you know, work with it. This is definitely a good topic for people to dig into a little more, especially if any of that stuff identifies with you, you know. And I'm sure every therapist has got tons of literature I'm sure they can hand you for for this one. Because like you said, this isn't even it's not a mental illness by classification, but it is certainly something, you know, it's certainly distorted thinking.
For sure.
No
and there's
question.
Different modes of it.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. There's just like the distorted thinking list has, you know, you can drop into that list many different ways with imposter syndrome, for sure.
Yep.
Mm. Well, guys, what do you think? We good?
It's been a fun podcast.
Yep.
I think so, too. All right, folks. Well, we covered a bunch of fun stuff this tonight. Definitely gave you some stuff to think about, maybe some stuff to research as you need it. But I know you definitely have some opinions and some thoughts and maybe a criticism or two. We appreciate it if you want to let us know what's on your mind. You can do that by reaching out to us at the Crazy Life Podcast .weebly.com, the Crazy Life Podcast at outlook.com. And if you'd like to reach me direct, feel free to reach out to me on the Twitters at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. I am also on Instagram, also Jen's Crazy Life, Jen with a G. And Heno, how can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Heno. You can find me on Facebook Messenger, Instagram, all that if you look for Heno Heiter. And you can check out my other podcast, Movie and Neil podcast, where we talk about movies primarily these days. And I have a podcast to edit. We have to get our Armageddon. I don't know. I guess it's a pet film / test of time.
Oh,
that'll be out next in about a week or so. So
right.
after you've heard this, you can go over to Moving the Needle and listen to me rave about the movie Armageddon in the face of haters.
Oh no.
That sounds awesome. And Brian, how can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast on Twitter at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. The show's not safe for work, and we just talk about kind of whatever pops into our head or whatever we've noticed in news or pop culture or whatever. Like this week, we talked about the 4th of July, the Clone Wars animated series, micro wrestling, how I watched the Garth Brooks biography on A&E, I'm sorry, and a variety of other weird stuff. But so if you're into that, please give us a listen. Again, show's not safe for work, so be careful. This show can be found on Twitter at the Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. And we're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So if you need help, whether it's with imposter syndrome or anything else you're struggling with, please reach out to someone. Talk to your doctor or, find a local group of some sort near you, a support type of situation. Also please reach out to people especially if they might be struggling, and just see if there's anything you can help them with or whatever. And then of course, as always, just please be kind to one another. Please put good energy out there and just help somebody out whenever you can. And just don't be a jerk.
My husband actually had a sticker that was on the fridge when I first met him, and that's literally what it said. And so he would look at it every time he walked out the door. It said, "Don't be a jerk."
Listen, that's the golden rule. You boil it straight down. That's literally what it really is don't be a jerk.
And I remember looking at him and asking him, I'm like, seriously? Do you really need a reminder to not be a jerk every day? He's
Some
like,
days.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I said, okay, well, kudos to you for putting up a reminder then. If you know that's a problem of yours, then you go do what you need to do.
That's right.
So, with that, everybody, go out there and have the best week you possibly can, and have a drink or, water, whatever your chosen drink may be for me, because it's going to be my birthday this weekend. So, I consider it a holiday for all.
Yay, 50th birthday.
50th birthday. No, not quite 50 yet. Only 43 years and proud. So, all right, everybody, have a good one. We'll be here next week, just waiting for ya.